Even though we haven't heard from Keith one time Thurman, I truly believe it's a way for him to come back and steal the spotlight, especially from those guys, Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. This is how. Cue to New Jack City.
Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
Nino Brown Boxing, and I'm back in the building. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Man, I was thinking about the boy Keith one time Thurman. And I was like, you know what? Let me put myself in Keith Thurman's shoes. Now, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos regarding Keith Thurman, I have been very critical of Keith Thurman and this whole Earl Spence saga. But I decided to put myself in Keith Thurman's shoes and think like, how would I, decided to think like, how would I go about things if I was him? Now, the best way for Keith Thurman to put himself back in the spotlight is first, steal the spotlight from the other guys. Now, the other guys do not include Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford. No, absolutely not. We know Keith Thurman won't aggressively pursue those two fights. But Keith Thurman already beat Sean Porter, and he already beat Danny Garcia. Now, I wouldn't advise Keith Thurman to, as soon as he comes back, fight one extremely weak tune-up and jump in there with those guys, or come back and immediately face them. But I would suggest first for Keith Thurman to come back and be extremely active. And I'm not talking about an active of he fights 3 times a year. I don't feel like that's active enough. Keith Thurman coming back and fighting 4 and 5 times in a year would be perfect. That would be the best way for Keith Thurman to start the road to stealing the spotlight back from these guys. One, just being more active. Like, we've been having conversations about this topic, about fighters only fighting twice a year. And we expect, if they're going to fight only twice a year, they need to fight top-level competition. Well, Keith Thurman, we already know you want a tune-up. We already know you possibly want more than one tune-up. But we weren't expecting 3. Now, we see Keith Thurman in there, and of course he improves the opposition improves over time. He comes back, let's just say, against a C-minus level fighter. Then he gets in there with the C-level fighter. Then he gets in there with a C-plus level fighter. Now, the C-plus level fighter, this is where shit starts to get interesting. A fight where it can be considered highly anticipated. A few, I guess a year or so ago, year and a half ago, this would have been a main event. And that's against a guy like Adrian Broner. So, his third fight back, facing Adrian Broner, yes, it will be a main event. Yes, absolutely, tickets will definitely sell. Now, I guess the hard part in that will be convincing Adrian Broner to get in the ring with Keith Thurman. The hard part will be convincing Adrian Broner to fight at 147. But if the money's right, if the bag is right, I feel like AB would do it. Especially if AB decides that he wants to stay active. I don't know, Keith Thurman want to go about this in a way where he would give AB a heads up. Like right now, I have a 3-fight plan for 2019 because the chances of him coming back this year is, in my opinion, is slim. Let's just say I have a 3-fight plan for 2019. I'm gonna fight a tune-up in January. I'm gonna fight a tune-up in March. And AB, I want you late May, early June. Now, at this point, we haven't even reached the halfway point of 2019. But we also have the Sean Porter, Danny Garcia fight in September. So he gets past AB, if AB accepts the fight. Then he calls out the loser of Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia. See, the thing about it is, Keith Thurman, when he returns, he will have time on his side. He'll have time on his side because the winner of Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter will not be in a rush to fight Terrence Crawford or Earl Spence. As much as I don't want to admit it, I don't see that fight happening, that unification, that WBC IBF unification happening anytime soon. With that being said, this put Keith Thurman in a position where he can steal the spotlight. Now, let's go back for a second. He gets past his tune-ups. Two random guys at 147. Decent level opposition. Shit, honestly, if I'm Keith Thurman, my second fight back, I'm trying to fight Felix Diaz. Felix Diaz, he hasn't, from what I remember, he hasn't been in the ring since he lost to Terrence Crawford. Felix Diaz, if I'm not mistaken, he's definitely fought at 147 before. And we all know when guys face Terrence Crawford, they never come back the same. So Felix Diaz is the second bout, Adrian Broner is the third bout, and then the winner, that being Sean Porter or the loser, that being Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. Now, think about all of this is no matter if Sean Porter won or Danny Garcia won, the plan was for Keith Thurman to fight either one of them anyway. The plan was actually for Keith Thurman, before he got stripped of his WBC belt, to face both of those guys most likely, because Danny Garcia was putting himself in a mandatory position, and so was Sean Porter. So if that's the case, why even change that? Like, win or lose, you could still fight both guys. You already beat them before, so the confidence should be there. Now, you face a guy like Felix Diaz, and now you're going into this, let's just say hypothetically, Danny Garcia wins the fight. It seems like Danny Garcia tends to get more decisions going his way, and he tends to win his big fights, except for the Keith Thurman fight. That's his only loss. So let's say this, hypothetically, Sean Porter loses. Now you're coming off this Felix Diaz fight. You're 3 fights in for 2019. You're approaching your 4th fight. You're like, okay, Sean Porter, let's get it on. Now the thing about this is, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Sean Porter has fought 3 times since he fought Danny. Hold on. Not all of this is off top of the dome. I'm really trying to remember. I know he fought Adrian Granados. He fought, who else? He fought Berto. And then I think before that it was Thurman. Maybe it was like Thurman, Berto, Granados. I may be missing someone, but I may be right. But okay. Keith Thurman fights his first comeback tune-up. He fights a Felix Diaz. He fights an Adrian Broner. I feel like Thurman is primed and ready to take out Sean Porter again. Now, you put on an epic performance against Sean Porter. You beat him more decisively than the first time, and I understand it's a lot easier said than done. But I feel like if Sean Porter loses against Danny Garcia, in my book, if he hasn't fully started, he's entering journeyman status. Now, how that affects Sean Porter's confidence? Is it a motivator? Is it something that affects him psychologically in a negative way? I don't know. But the bigger picture is Keith Thurman has beat the man before. Especially now, we'll definitely have to go off how he looks against Danny Garcia, but let's keep pushing. So Keith Thurman repeats, work that he's done. He defeats Sean Porter, and he decides to move on, get his shot at the WBC title. Now, this is the good thing. In this situation. Considering all of these people accept the fight, Keith Thurman is still a WBA super champion. And far as I remember, except for with the whole heavyweight situation, as far as I remember, the WBA super champion, they don't have mandatories. So if Keith Thurman is making his way back, he's defending his WBA super title every step of the way. That's more incentive for a guy to want to get in the ring with him, because that's an opportunity to become a champion. So AB, once again, get another shot at the title. Now, AB can shock the world and beat Thurman. But we know how AB is. He don't let his hands go. So the chance of that happening is slim. Now, I guess the interesting part with the whole AB situation is AB doesn't duck and dodge anyone. Now, especially if you want to put a title on the line, and AB talks about how he'll be a champion again, and if Keith Thurman comes out and saying, Adrian Broner, I want to fight you, I want to give you a shot, we'll really see, I guess, the the myth will turn to fact that Adrian Broner doesn't duck and dodge, or the myth will be busted, basically. And the truth will start coming out, we'll find out, well, Adrian Broner definitely doesn't want any smoke with a Keith Thurman at 147. Now, after we move forward and get past all of those guys, we'll put him in a situation where it's a unification bout against Danny Garcia. Mind you, like the way I see this is all taking place in 2019. And this will be great if Errol Spence has the opportunity to fight Mikey Garcia. And then they're pushing for the Crawford fight. All of this other stuff going on at the welterweight division will definitely make the division a lot more interesting. And not necessarily more active, just a more active Keith Thurman and Errol Spence fighting, let's say, Mikey Garcia in the beginning of 2019, because I heard rumors that the fight got pushed back due to the Deontay Tyson Fury fight. But let's just say it all plays out like that. Now we have Keith Thurman unifying with Danny Garcia once again. And he's done it before. I definitely believe he can do it again, especially if Sean Porter gives Danny Garcia an extremely rough outing. The chances of Danny Garcia getting in the ring with top level competition post Sean Porter fight, to me, I feel like it's slim to none. So you'll have a primed and ready Keith Thurman that fought a tune-up, that fought a Felix Diaz, that fought a Adrian Broner, that fought a Sean Porter, and is ready to go for Danny Garcia, a guy that he already beat previously and a guy that is not a career welterweight. That's the fight I believe Keith Thurman can win. And exactly at the end of that Danny Garcia fight, Keith Thurman finally decides that he needs to stud up and say, hey, Errol Spence, I want you. Let's get it on. He talks some cash money shit. Keith Thurman is back. He's back. He's ready to go. But the only part about it is, will he do it? Now, the first part, the first 4 fights of this equation, I feel like Keith Thurman will have no problem doing. Fighting the tune-up, fighting the Felix Diaz, fighting the Adrian Broner, fighting the Sean Porter, and fighting the Danny Garcia. I feel like they'll definitely get done. Is that 4 or 5? Tune-up, Diaz, Broner. Yeah, that's 5. So fighting those 5 fights, hey, I feel like he can definitely get the job done. But it'll just have to be something that he's willing to do. And we all know how Keith Thurman rolls. He gets comfortable with his life. And if boxing is a priority and he definitely wants to come back, he definitely wants to erase all of this negativity attached to his name, that's the way to go about it. But that involves him being extremely active. And if being extremely active is not in the equation, the chances of Keith Thurman coming back, in my opinion, are none. He may have a fight. You know, he may have an impressive knockout against lower level competition. But when it comes to Keith one-time Thurman being a threat at the welterweight division, being the guy that's one time not afraid to let his O go, if you can beat me, beat me. If there's any chances for us to get that Keith Thurman back, that's the road we need. That's the road we need for Thurman to go. This is Nino Brown Boxing. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.